Hey guys, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So I just want to jump on and do just a little clip here based on some more tools that you can use on everyday life. And these exist on an energetic level. They're not real laws per se as a human form, but Source created them for them to exist as our um, way of navigating this life. And I use them in my life, which is a law of one. And then you have the law of truth, law of clarity, law of surrender. These are different ones that I've put in a book that's available on Amazon, and you can use them and buy the book, and you can have access to that. But I'll be also making and sharing some of those, in a masterclass as well as on some of these videos, so you'll be able to, use those and refer back to them. But I want to kind of talk about, the law of one. Of course, that's source, and then the law of one is your main relationship to it, because you are a divine source, or that's your divine connection that comes first. Everything else comes after, right? This is your related. This is your relation to source. So that comes first. Whenever you're in situations that you're in related to outside of yourself, you would want to come to your divine source and navigate that. So in that perspective, of course, divine truth, um, your law of truth brings in like your truth. So, but then again, there's your truth that you think you are when you're in the delusion, which is from the space of the related, or the truth that you are, which is in your true form. So you have both of those truths, the true false or the true, right? And then you have clarity, to bring in clarity. So when you're calling in divine truth, you're calling in source truth, which source doesn't lie. It just is. It exists. It's truth, right? There's no false truth about it. Your related is a delusion that you have a false truth to, because you can be in your truth, but you think it is, but it really isn't. It's only because you are in that delusion that you think it's real, right? But it isn't. Then you have your clarity. So when you call in clarity, this is going to be like kind of related to, if you are in the delusion, you're not in your true self, you can have clarity on it. You can call in clarity. Okay, what am I seeing? Help me see through my delusion. So you have clarity, then surrender. Right? We have to surrender the situation to source to take care of it. Because when you have your divine connection, you're divinely connected to source. In any situation of your life, you're not connected to what you're related to, because you can sit here and be related to everything else around you and try to work out stuff, when you come to those situations where it's a dead end, or it's not getting resolved, because that is, um, unresolvable, right? It's when you go to the divine truth, which is source, the one, the truth, the um, the law of one, right? Because everything is one in itself, which is indivisible. I'm gonna get that right. Indivisible by itself, indivisible, undividable by itself, but is in many, right? Because everything is of source, right? So it's indivisible of itself into many, but it is still only one. There's only one of everything. So uh, that is your main relation, your connection, which is the law of one to source. Everything else is other, right? Is, from what I'm getting from the book. So everything else is other, right? And so the tools that I use is the law of truth, law of clarity, law of surrender. And again, I've got these laws that have come to me through a channeling of a book, part of a book. So I use those for myself as navigating certain situations in my life. Because I want to make sure that I'm always doing truth, not false. Because whenever that's why they say don't lie, right? Because when you lie, or you choose something that's not true, you take yourself separate from, and you're separating more further and further away from source, which is the truth, right? You're becoming further away, right? It's not that you're evil, or this darkness, and blah blah blah. You're just going further and further away from the truth, which is source, right? So I like to use these tools for myself as a navigation, sacred tools, knowledge, and wisdom, that I'm sharing here with you today to bring about this knowledge for you so you can use it in your daily life. Now, with that being said, there's a situation that I had, gone through it in work, and I just want to talk about that to show you how to apply these um, these laws of nature, or source, or however you want to call them. A lot of people don't know about them, and then of course there's law of the humans, which is just to keep peace among the humans, right? So they don't really exist. They're just here to keep us confined and safe and blah, 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 you know. But in this scenario, so I was in this one department, and was taken out of this department to go to a different department to help out. And I liked the department that I was in, but I was okay to go and help in another department. So I went to a different department to help out. I did so good there. They wanted to keep me. And they asked me, like, do you want to go back? And I was like, yes, I do want to go back to the other department, because it was only temporary. I didn't want to stay in the new department. However, the person who asked me wanted me to stay. So they chose that they weren't going to submit this or stand up for me or tell them that, yes, I wanted to go back to she wanted me to stay there because she wanted me there, not because what was good for me or for another person or for the whole of the good. She wanted to keep me there for herself, right? So it helps her, which is part of a delusion, right? And so her not being truthful and honest is the delusion. And so as we're going through this and we're talking about this, I'm like, something's not right. And she kept trying to tell me, yeah, I submitted, I checked on it, and I wasn't hearing anything back about whether I'm going back to the other department or not. And I kept asking her, like, what is going on? And like, when you're intuitive and you work on your intuitive abilities and you have this knowing, something's not right or something's off, and she's not saying the truth. She's talking, but she's talking and she's doing something different. There's this dissonance between the energy and vibration that you're able to learn how to pick up when you're in alignment with your true self, and you're able to, develop your, intuitive abilities and your senses, right? So you just have that. And so since, and they were like, no, you're staying in this department, they finally told me, and I didn't get an email on that. So I was like, okay, well, I decided I was going to go and speak to HR on this situation. So I went to HR on the situation. I told them, what was going on, and so blah 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 happened, and I spoke my truth, right? So in speaking my own truth, right, I knew that was but what was good for me. It was probably good for the company, and it was good for all, right? And so having the knowledge that she wasn't speaking her truth, I was calling in truth. So let's call in truth, which is my divine source to, the law of one, right? Not everything else that's around me, trying to interact and engage with the world around me, trying to fight it and trying to, because what happens when you're engaging with other people who are not in their true self, and this is going on and this is going, it just creates more, right? It doesn't resolve anything, and nothing gets done, and everything, it then takes you on this path, right? So, and I'm like, no, this isn't right, and I went with my intuition. When I feel like something's not right or something's off, I go, I honor that. I go with my feeling, my gut, my inspiration, my intuition, and I follow my gut. So I talked to HR, and long story short, they are now moving, they moved me back to the other department where I was originally, right? Because that's how it evolved. So in this time, you have all this. And so if you call into, like I said, the law of one, which is your divine source, not what's going on here, because this is a result of your separation from source, right? This is a result, right? And the book talks about that. So if you know enough to go back to the source, right, which is source, not to the source of, the related, but the source of source. the one. And you ask for clarity, the law of truth, and then the law of surrender. So asking the law of one, our divine connection, going back to that, and then you have calling in for asking for truth to come, from the law of one. And then you have that. And then if you have the law of clarity, so that's so you can see the truth, right? And to have the knowledge and wisdom to be shared with you, but you have to be open and acceptance of it, right? Because you can call on these, but if you're not allowing the law of allowing, then you're not going to be receiving, if that makes sense. So you have all these different laws and things that are tools that you can use on everyday life to navigate this, right? So the law of allowing is allowing yourself to be open to receive the divine knowledge. So when you have your divine connection and something going on in your life that is of the delusion, asking for truth and honesty to come in from source, not from them, because are they ever going to give you the truth? Right? Truth comes from source. Source is truth. Source is light. Source is abundance. Source is bliss, right? So you got to be careful where you're getting this. It's navigating the world, if you're seeing what I'm saying here. And then clarity. So clarity, if I'm in my delusion, I need to see what is my delusion. So calling in clarity, right? Help me to see. Because it's either me or them or both of us that's in the delusion. So I'm either seeing something not right about me or them. And so clarity, truth, the law of one, which is your divine connection. And then you have surrender. Once you called in, and you have to surrender and allow, right? So I'm giving it up to the universe, let them deal with it, let source deal with it, and let that come back to me. So a couple of days after doing that, you will get something if you're allowing, if you're using the law of allowing. And giving it up, surrendering it, right? Because if you're holding on to it and your mind's going and you're focused and you're angry and you're frustrated and you're in this delusion because of the situation that's happening, you're not going to be open to receive your divine connection because you're just out of alignment as they are, right? So staying in your true self, your divine connection, just allow it, just hand it off to source, right? It's surrender, it's allowing. I allow whatever happens, happens. I'm not in control. I'm just letting the universe do its thing. Where is the best place for me to be, right? So when that happens and you're allowing, you'll receive something. And so I did after doing that. Like there was this remembrance of a certain situation that was left out of the puzzle that I needed to go back and tell HR about in order for me to be where I wanted to be, not where they wanted me to be, right? So I went back and told HR what was coming to me intuitively and how to say it. So I was opening, allowing, and listening, and not in resistance of how this should be expressed, how this should be said, how this should be presented, right? And in this way, you're going to be able to shift out of this, right? So in my divine guidance that I received from source, right, I followed that guidance. And so I did. I went to HR and said it in this way, presented it in this way about the situation, and then I left it. And I did have my mind come in every now and then. It was like, and I'm like, no, kick it out, kick it out, kick it out. No, because that's a delusion. Because the mind kind of wanted to come in, and it will, in these situations, okay? Because I didn't hear anything from 3 days. And then I finally heard something. She actually came on, onto we'll just say the Zoom, and she's like, I got some good news for you, blah, blah, blah. And it was really interesting in how it happened. And it generally happens this way. So if you're allowing, you're receiving the divine guidance to what to do. And so when you follow that guidance and you do it, just let it be, just allow, just surrender, right? Just allow and let things be and evolve through divine source, what's in the best interest for all, right? Not as you want it for you or her for her, because obviously there was this conflict was going on of the two delusions, right? So having done that, I followed guidance and I just kept my mind out of it, right? Kept my mind kicking it out whenever it was coming in about, I wonder if I should check on this or if I should talk to her, if I should say something else, I just kept kicking it out and I just kept allowing. Next thing I know, I get this feeling like something good is happening, and you could just feel it. And then over the time of span, which was the next day, that I didn't hear anything that day. So I was like, that's interesting. I wonder why I didn't hear anything. Because generally, when I get a good feeling, something comes and then nothing came. But then sometimes I'll get a bad feeling and then, of course, bad things or bad news comes. However, but that's my intuition, that's my connection, and I feel like you should develop your own connection to the one source and start working on your intuitive abilities, your intuition, your guidance, that connection. um, and then from there, after I had received and I was feeling so good all day, like there's good news coming, and I just stayed with that, that feeling. I'm like, okay, and just kind of anticipation. What is the good feeling about? What's coming? What's happening? Um, and then the next day, AHR got onto the Zoom with me and shared, okay, so you're going back to your other department on so and so day, right? So I was like, so the truth was, and she said, yes, we had discussed it, and the truth is that it shouldn't have been done in that way. So with truth being called in, the awareness allowing the surrender, these are tools that you might want to use in your daily life to help you, navigate your life in certain situations instead of going to whatever you're related to, your situation that's happening, but go to your divine connection and allow that to do its own magic, right? And just letting go. And that's also one of the law of letting go. But yeah, all these are in my book. And again, I'll be sharing these with you. But anyway, that's the gist of it. And that's kind of like the scenario. I don't want to get into details because I'm not going to harp on it. But um, but the thing is, these are the ways that you can use these tools, is my point, in your life situations, right? And so these are things that I bring up in our coaching sessions and things like that to help you navigate certain situations, to look at it, how to navigate it, what to use, these tools that you have that are universal, in your way of dealing with life or navigating life and moving through life. So these are sacred tools that has been given to you through source if you are aware of them or know of them, and to implement them into your life in order to do that. Now, what would happen if it was my delusion? I would have clarity. Okay, so calling in clarity, okay, why am I in this delusion? If it had been a different outturn, right? Why am I having the delusion and not her, right? Is it fear-based? Is it fear-based that I'm going into a different department and I'm not sure, or I'm just in fear, or if it's whatever the situation be, that would bring in clarity for me to see, so I can navigate my way and then move forward into that department. However, that wasn't the case. It was her delusion, right? Because she was doing something that was not truthful. She was trying to keep me there, even though she had asked me. And then because she wanted me there, she negated to tell anybody about it, right? So she wasn't being honest and truthful in herself, right? And so truth prevails, right? So using these tools to navigate your life. If you have any questions or anything, drop them down in the comments or book a session. We can do that. I was going to say something else here, but it kind of escaped me. But anyway, yep. Those are some of the tools, sacred tools for knowledge and wisdom, so you can use them in your life, and they work with any situation. So, anything that you're going through, because like when we try to, go up against another person about certain situations, we don't always get anywhere with it, right? So at that point, if it can't be resolved between you, then you want to go back to the true self, right? And so call on these universal laws and knowledge and wisdom that is here created for us to use in everyday life, right? To navigate. Because we have the tools, we just need to know them and understand them and how they work in our lives. Does that make sense? All right, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to share those, some other tips and tools that you can use in everyday life. Check out the other one, about being a Karen. Different videos are on YouTube that I'm putting out to share and to be hopefully helpful in your life. You can use them or not if you want to check them out. But, in order to get to that place where you are using them, there's steps that you might want to start working with, prior to, like your intuitive abilities, meditation, building that connection with source, bringing that first, and then, everything else last, because a lot of times we want to make everything else around us first, like our friends, our family, um, our kids, and we negate our true alignment to source, which comes first, right? When you have that, everything else falls into place. So, um, it's just something to build and develop within yourself. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Drop them in the bottom of the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. And so trying to get this information out for everybody if they want to use it, if it resonates with them, or if they want to try to, utilize the universal tools and knowledge for themselves, they can do that. All right, happy journeys.